Okay, so it's been a year since Starfield came out, and that initial rush of hype for the game quickly ran out 2 weeks after it dropped. Originally, this video was going to be a 1 year later review, but given all the updates, something was bound to come along to mess that up. Shattered Space, the first DLC for the game. I honestly forgot I owned it because I forgot I pre-ordered the game.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Look, however you feel about the game, it does deserve an objective review. There are things about this game that I love, there are things about this game that I hate. But between the updates and the DLC, I want to know if after a whole year, if the game is good, bad, or ugly. So we're going to start with what Starfield was initially a year ago to me and many other people. A poor man's Star Citizen.
Let it sauce, that's the motto. Crown mob, that's the game. Corner clip.
Starfield was the single-player space RPG that we all wanted ever since BioWare started having, difficulties. And unfortunately, I'm going to be comparing this to Mass Effect greatly, so you know.
We're bang, okay?
Starfield's premise is simple. Your character joins the exploration group Constellation, who are actively unraveling a mystery involving ancient artifacts of unknown origin and power. And here's where we have our first problem. Bethesda uses the same story tropes across all its games. You always start off from this painfully humble beginning and get propelled into the role of a morally ambiguous messiah. For Elder Scrolls, you're always a prisoner. For Fallout, a vault dweller. In Starfield, you're a miner. No, not like that. Going back to the story, while attempting to find these artifacts, you come across temples on remote worlds that give you superpowers through an asinine minigame, only to get accosted by a group of cosmic assholes called Starborn who have the same superpowers while they actively attempt to either take the artifacts from you or deter you from discovering its secrets. This is literally Skyrim, because of course it is. The Starborn popping up like dragons and killing them to take their souls or quantum essence. The powers you collect are just shouts. I have rarely ever been in situations where I even use those damn superpowers. Hell, I forget I have them most of the time. Oh, and get this. The story takes place a couple decades after a war between governments, which ultimately ends in an uneasy truce between the two, and you see the repercussions of that intertwine in various quest lines. It's literally a Thalmor in the Empire, or the Browncoats in the Alliance, but it's definitely Thalmor in the Empire. It's all just Skyrim. And don't get me started on the end game. In fact, I'd rather start on the faction quest, which seems to be far more interesting than the main story. You have the United Colonies quest line that ends up being a mix of Dead Space and Silence of the Lambs. There are attacks from xeno creatures called Terramorphs across UC colonies, and it seems to be a coordinated conspiracy, which you learn that, hey, the government we trust ain't actually shit after all. Then you have the Freestar Rangers, which are basically space cowboys with a badge, with a lot less kicking and even less Jared Padalecki. You investigate a series of remote farms being taken by mercenaries and stumble onto like this 20-30-year-old conspiracy, which kind of fills out a bit of the backstory for the overall setting of Starfield. But not enough to be interesting, but at least you get a dope ship out of it. Ryujin Industries has you playing a corpo problem solver, sneaking into rival corporate offices, planting evidence, stealing plans, and boring inter-office politics. The sort of thing you'd expect from a 21st century mega corporation. But the most interesting faction was probably the Crimson Fleet, because you had genuine choices with how you played through that quest line. For those of you who don't know, it's the Spice Pirate. The Space Pirate faction.
Keep it a stack.
You either join them as part of an undercover operative with the UC, or you can actually do crime and get jumped in that way.
Oh, let him get up.
What?
Like that.
I think ever since Nuka World, Bethesda learned that people don't always like to be the good guy. Nevertheless, all the quest lines are better than the main one, which eventually ends with you heading to the center of the multiverse and jumping into a new reality, which is essentially New Game Plus. And then you become Starborn. I guess Bethesda figured that since so many people replay their games, why not streamline the process? Oh, sweet summer child. That's not why we replay your games. We definitely don't replay them for the exploration because that sucked. Landing on the planet's surface and walking from one point of interest to another was a pain in the ass. In an open world game, points of interest should always be reachable within 30 to 40 seconds to keep the player engaged. In Starfield, it took a minute or two to reach something new, and that made the whole process way more tedious and time consuming. And it didn't help when the world maps looked like a fucking frozen music synthesizer. In Bethesda's defense, I don't think anyone's quite figured out space exploration in a single player game. BioWare never figured it out. After Mass Effect 1, they didn't even try to focus on exploration again until Mass Effect Andromeda, and well, we know how that turned out. I love the shipbuilding. I've spent hours building my ships, only to be told that it exceeded the allotted size. The shipbuilding was cool until you realize that a lot of the best ship parts are locked behind a level list. Level locking ship parts is so fucking stupid. I'm already grinding for money to support my ugly ass parents and to pay off the mortgage to my dream home. Let me build what I want. Where's the agency where I have to wait to hit level 50 for a faster fucking engine? And this is why Nexus mods will always stay in business. In short, it's clear that Bethesda wanted to make a space exploration game and still make the same design choices as they made in their previous titles, but they just wouldn't work here and actually hampers the experience. But Bethesda has made strides to improve a lot of the issues that plagued it over the months after its release. So, do any of these updates make Starfield worth it? Well, let's see. Apart from all the bug fixes, and as a Bethesda game, there are a lot of bug fixes. What I want to focus on are the features that improve the experience of the game overall. One thing I like is ultra-wide monitor support. I have a super wide ultra monitor.
FYI, my dick is bigger than yours.
So seeing more of the world rendered out while I play in the first-person experience is a dope-ass experience. DLSS support, it's great. I hate NVIDIA as a company, but damn, they make a good product. It's that same vibe of me being conflicted about R. Kelly. Yes, he did what he did, and I'll never approve of it, but Ignition Remix is my shit.
Running her hands through my fro, bouncing on 24s.
R. Kelly was trying like hell to fight his case with good music for years. Too bad Diddy couldn't do that, because all he ever did was ad-lib.
He's out of line. But he's right.
Let's run it back with the features. One of the first things that they did was fix that shitty surface map. And now it actually functions like, well, a map. Now, I understand that things happen in development and you have to make sacrifices of some features to deliver a stable product. But in a game about exploration, a map seems very fucking important. Why that wasn't a priority at launch is beyond me. But they did make a minor change to New Game Plus. You can now respect your character's looks and traits after completing the end game of your playthrough. It's a much welcome quality of life touch that makes it so you don't have to replay with the same character. It's also a chance to change your appearance to make sure your mother doesn't look like a pug in your face. And let's not forget about creations, because the community sure as hell hasn't. That's right, Bethesda brought back that little gem with one of these updates a few months ago. And let's just say the reception hasn't been the best. Some of it unwarranted, but some of it justified. Creations is Bethesda's microtransaction platform for user-generated content. Think Roblox, but without the PDF files. Okay, that's enough. I'm not trying to get him out of jail. And I'm not trying to get sued either. Anyway, Bethesda itself uses creations to push small packets of content and charges a fee for it. Some of it is good, and some of it is a little overpriced for what you get. Look, I get it. No one wants to pay for mods that have always been historically free, but also people need to eat. And if you have a talent that facilitates that, then more power to you. That's why a lot of mod authors have Patreon. And I have the added benefit of seeing things from both a gamer's and a game developer's perspective. The Creations Program is a great way to say that you've made content for a AAA game while having a degree of financial independence, because I don't know if you noticed, layoffs in the game industry have been a common occurrence for the last year and a half. So I have no beef with the program itself. I have a beef with the creators who overcharge on simple mods while Bethesda does nothing to moderate pricing. Well, if we're being honest, Bethesda's been accused of the same bullshit when they came out with that Tracker Alliance mission. I will say that their escape mission was pretty good as a quest and worth the price. But let's be honest, if you have that much of a problem with it, don't use it. There's always Nexus mods. I guess the last major update to Starfield involves the Rev 8. This is basically if the Warthog and the Mako had a one-night stand and gave birth to a kid, only to find out that they were long-lost siblings, so that means the kid, drives a little different than the rest. Oh my god, I'm going to hell for this. Nevertheless, this coupled with the new surface maps made exploration a little more bearable, even, dare I say, intriguing. People all over were saying, yes, Starfield is back. And I get it. I got back into Starfield because of this update. Because now, those couple of minutes that it took to travel between points of interest were suddenly greatly reduced. And making Sarah uncomfortable with my driving style is always hilarious. But since we're now incentivized to explore these procedurally generated maps, and now that Starfield is doing what it can to finally push exploration in a meaningful way, with this new rover, we finally find out that there ain't shit really worth exploring. I mean, with this, you can argue that you can gather better resources, but it's usually more convenient to just go buy it in bulk somewhere. And going into abandoned installations only nets you the same enemies with the same various iterations of the same loot. The fact is, as needed as the Rev 8 was for exploration, it inadvertently made the generic nature of the exploration of this game even more apparent. It made the content of the game more accessible, but it didn't make it better, which is a problem a lot of people have. The story is uninspiring. Exploring different planets doesn't offer much beyond loot and the same randomly generated enemies, and because of the whole Starborn and space power shtick, this game's identity is even more in question. Bethesda brought these fantastical elements into a game setting that really doesn't need it. I can forgive them from reusing some game mechanics between different titles if it makes sense, but rehashing tropes for content drags the narrative experience. Because as we all know, the only people who can do that is Nintendo. At the end of the day, this is an RPG. Unfortunately, it suffers from an identity crisis where it doesn't know the bounds of its own setting and mythos. It's too fantastical to be science fiction, but too grounded in reality to be science fantasy. On many levels, the game turns into a space western when you're fighting pirates and securing frontier worlds. Then it's a cyberpunk story when you do anything in or around Neon. I don't have a problem with mixing genres, but between the reused tropes, procedurally generated content, and some of the out-of-place cosmic elements, it just doesn't work. And apparently Bethesda has listened, because their first major DLC, Shattered Space, is supposed to improve on much of what I've described here. But that you'll find in part 2, which you can watch right now after this video. So, tell me your thoughts on how you feel about Starfield after a whole year of it being what it was, and if you're excited for it and what other updates that it may get. But that's all the time I have for you today. Thank you for watching. Remember to abuse that sub button, caress that like button, and as always, keep your crowns crooked and stay classy. Deuces.